out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's...
Hey baseball fans, my name is Matt Nadel. I am MLB's youngest pro blogger. My blog, Baseball with Matt, focuses mainly on baseball history, and today I will be speaking with Mr. Andy Mele, author of The Boys of Brooklyn. Andy, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I hope these interview questions don't stump you.
We'll give it a good shot.
Alright, so Andy, how did you research all of the stories of the players who played in the parade grounds?
When I decided to look into this, to try to plan this book, I realized I was in touch with 7 or 8 of the old guys, and I didn't know if we'd go any further than that. But what I found out was when I spoke to them, they were in touch with equally 7 or 8 others,
Yeah.
and so it began to spread as like the foul lines go to infinity, and that's it just kept snowballing, and I got to there were 3 or 4 of the old managers that I knew, and surprisingly these fellows stayed in touch with their players over the years.
Oh.
So a couple of them, that's how I got Tommy Davis, who's out on the coast, and Bobby Aspromani, who's in Houston. And I interviewed them by phone, so which I wouldn't have been able to reach them, without that. But that's how it happened, and it just kept growing and growing.
Yeah, like the domino effect.
Exactly, and that's how I figured I had something here because I was able to reach so many. I interviewed about 95 guys directly, and then there's maybe another 15 or 20 who had either passed on or I didn't have any touch with, but I recalled, and it's pretty interesting. I had a friend of mine who's a terrific pitcher, Carl Hottinger, and I had him in the book. He's out down in Jersey, and I spoke to him on the phone. Hey, Carl, I'm doing this book, and we talked and everything else, and I wrote a lot of things about him because he was terrific, and I played behind him for several years. And he called me up after the book came out. He said, Andy, I want to thank you for making me a hero to my grandchildren. Because they read the book. That's you? You did those things? We're old now. We're old grandparents, But that's how it happened. That's how it developed.
So, without the parade grounds, do you think the players who made the bigs after playing in the parade grounds would never have made the bigs?
That's a really good question because it takes into account what is necessary to be a pro. And the very first prerequisite is God-given talent. I mean, you've got to have the ability. There's no two ways about it. Then the experience and all that comes into it. So the question is how much of that experience was helpful. I think most of these guys would have gotten where they were going.
Oh, yeah.
But they were helped. I think it helped. There was a fellow from Long Island, Chuck Schilling.
Oh, yeah.
And we had one of the scouts that was hanging around was from the Boston Red Sox, was Bots Nicola. And Nicola scouted Schilling. And he wanted him to come in and play a year at the parade grounds.
Oh.
Just for the experience, which he did. He set him up with a team called Nathan's, which was the hot dog place in Coney Island. They were a hot club. And he came in, he played a year with them, and after the season, Bot signed him to the Red Sox. And he went on, he had 5 or 6 years in the big leagues.
The Dodgers moved from Brooklyn to Los Angeles after the 1957 season. Do you think there's still a lot of Brooklyn Dodger fans living in Brooklyn? Or do you think they've all just moved on and become Yankee fans or Met fans? Because now LA is the Dodgers' home. But what do you think?
But there's a lot of people left, and we all hate O'Malley. There's no two ways. He's still the villain. But one example, the Brooklyn Cyclones.
Yes.
New York Penn League. They're affiliated with the Mets.
Yes.
And they sell out every game, 8,000 people every single game.
Wow.
These are all Brooklyn people, and there's got to be a lot of old Dodger fans. And whenever I go up there, I always run into people I know.
You began one of your chapters by saying, all roads supposedly lead to Rome, but all that don't apparently lead to Brooklyn. Now, this statement is obviously not true, but what if it was? Why do you think all roads that don't lead to Rome would lead to Brooklyn?
If Brooklyn were a city by itself, it would rank 4th in the country in sending players to the major leagues.
Oh, wow.
And 3rd is the rest of New York.
Oh.
So, it's right up there with And entertainers knock you out.
Oh, yeah.
Start talking about it. Everybody you look at is came from Brooklyn. So that's where that statement came from.
Do you think that some of the players in the book were overlooked by the Hall of Fame?
I don't know if anybody has been overlooked. There were two Hall of Famers, Wade Hoyt and Sandy Koufax. Joe Torre will be in, just a matter of time.
Yes.
Some of the better hitters were Tommy Davis and Tommy Holmes. I don't know if they're Hall of Famers, but they were among the best. The one guy I would say, if you're going to put closers in the Hall of Fame, what about Johnny Franco? Johnny Franco, I think he's got the most saves for a left-hander, and he ranks about 4th all time. So if you're going to put closers in, why not? You know, he should certainly be considered. So I think he might be one. Johnny played at the parade grounds after I left.
On a scale of 1 to 20, how much did Dodger fans hate the Giants and the Giants fans during your time?
Scale of 1 to 20.
Yes.
20 being the worst.
Yes.
20.
Now what?
It was a New York writer not too long ago wrote that next to the Giants and the Dodgers, the Yankees and the Red Sox are a tea party. Because it was you have to remember, it never happened before. There were two teams in the same league in the same city.
Yeah, never happened.
Yeah, never happened. So they played 22 times.
Oh wow, really?
A year, yeah.
Today it's only 18.
Yep, they played 22 times a year, and you had, when you went at the Polo Grounds, you had Brooklyn fans, and at Ebbets Field you had Giant fans.
Yeah.
And you'd go to the supermarket, not the supermarket at that time, but you'd go to the local deli or something, and you'd pound the bologna, and the guy cutting the bologna is a Giant fan. Next thing you know, you're in an argument with him. So it was very intense.
Yeah.
And I think what made the fans that way was, of course, the players.
Yeah.
They hated each other. They just the players.
No respect whatsoever.
If you wore Giants on your shirt, they hated you. I used to think, they used to say when Jackie Robinson broke in, right, the first black man, they said Brooklyn was the only place it could have happened. I don't know if that's true, but the point was that Brooklyn would accept him, which they did. So that makes it sound like we were very tolerant in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But I said one time, I said, you know something? If Jackie Robinson had broken in with the Giants, we would have hated him, and then we would have been bigots instead of being tolerant, because it was what they wore on their shirt, and it was. And I'll tell you, when Bobby Thompson hit the home run, something like that was just, it was devastating.
Everyone
devastating.
was crying, nothing bad.
Devastating.
Everything bad.
I had a neighbor next door, 3 people, a couple, and they had one son. He was a ball player too, he was a friend of mine. And the 3 of them were big Dodger fans, but the mother, the wife, Rose, she was better than any of us. And I remember when Bobby Thompson hit the home run, I came out of the house on the porch, and she's sitting there crying. I mean crying.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Andy, those stinking Giants. And then in '55, when they won the World Series, she's crying again. Oh, Andy, those bums finally won it all. It was an emotional experience for all of us in those days.
Now, what inspired you to write this book, The Boys of Brooklyn?
Well, there was one writer, a fellow named Bob McGee, wrote a book called The Greatest Ballpark Ever.
Oh, okay.
It's Ebbets Field, but it's a history of the Dodgers.
Oh, okay.
And Bob was born 53, 54, something like that, so he missed all that.
Oh,
So
okay.
they gave us a topic. My topic was growing up in Brooklyn and rooting for the Dodgers. So I talked all about the parade grounds and playing ball and how we were Dodger rooters and what it was like when we were kids and all that. And when I finished, Bob said to me, boy, he said, I would give anything for your experiences. He said, you ought to write about it.
Wow.
So I thought about it. It was October. I went home, I had the winter ahead of me. I sat down and that's when I started contacting some of these other fellas and started wondering if there was a book here. But that's where it all came from. I owe it to Bob. I told him, I said, oh, if it wasn't for you, this wouldn't be here. Nice fellow, and he wrote a terrific book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's where it really came from. That was the genesis of it.
Andy, thank you so much for speaking with me today. It has been an honor. Make sure you check out Andy's book, The Boys of Brooklyn. Check out some of my future stuff. Go to baseballwithmatt.blogspot.com or baseballwithmatt.mlblogs.com. My name is Matt Nadel. This is Andy Mele. Thank you so much for watching this video.